Welcome to the deep dive. Look, if you're running a hotel or restaurant, you know the daily grind, right?
Yeah.
Juggling everything.
Absolutely. It's nonstop pressure.
So today we want to cut through some of that noise. We're focusing on what really makes a difference for success in this business.
And our goal is really practical today. We want to give you, as an owner or manager, some insights you can hopefully use right away.
Yeah, actionable stuff.
We've been looking at the thinking of Maurice, who's a real expert in hospitality, especially food and beverage.
She's got loads of experience.
Definitely. So think of this as getting some direct access to his way of thinking.
Exactly. We've basically pulled out the core ideas from his Mastering Restaurant Success, the 5 essential keys. And our mission here in this deep dive is to unpack that practical advice.
Advice that can genuinely impact your business, your customer satisfaction.
Starting right now, we're not talking vague ideas, but, concrete things for a thriving restaurant or hotel F&B operation.
And Maurice kicks things off with something, well, it sounds basic, but he insists it's absolutely fundamental.
Okay, what's that?
The critical role of small details.
Like the details. Let's unpack that a bit. From Maurice's view, why are these little things so important? Is it just about making things look good?
He argues well, it operates on a deeper level,
Mm-hmm.
These details, they signal care, attention.
Okay.
Think about it, a perfectly set table, right? Or maybe just a really genuine smile from a server. It's not just functional.
It creates a feeling.
Exactly, a feeling that you, the customer, are actually valued. And that feeling, that translates into lasting positive memories.
It's interesting how those small positives build up.
Yeah.
But what about the opposite? When details are missed? Maurice mentions that too, doesn't he?
He does, and it's a really crucial point for every owner. Overlooking things that seem small, maybe a chipped plate, lukewarm food, service that's just a bit off.
Yeah.
It can have a surprisingly big negative impact, especially now,
Uh-huh.
with reviews and social media.
Oh, absolutely. Those small things get amplified fast.
They really do. And that can seriously damage your reputation.
He uses some strong examples to sort of drive this home. Can you share one?
Sure. He talks about the Stanford Court in San Francisco,
Okay.
and he points to their long success being partly built on this relentless focus on every single tiny aspect of the experience.
Meticulous.
Totally meticulous. It shows that isn't just for, super high-end luxury places. It's about building excellence from the ground up.
And he connects this idea to the kind of mastery you see in great chefs, like Joel Robuchon. What's the link there for Maurice?
For Maurice, chefs like that show that real excellence isn't just about big fancy ideas. It's about nailing the fundamentals flawlessly.
Down to the finest detail.
Precisely. The exact seasoning, the perfect temperature, the texture, those are the small things that take a dish from just, good to really memorable.
So for an owner listening right now, what's the main takeaway Maurice wants them to get about these details?
It's about being intentional. Don't ever underestimate the power of a small touch.
Like what?
Maybe a handwritten note, a personalized welcome, a truly thoughtful recommendation from the staff. These things can forge a much stronger bond than you might realize.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, shifting slightly, Maurice also talks a lot about the overall feel of the place, the ambiance.
Yes, and he really stresses how much this affects your customer's mood. You could have the best food in the world, but if the atmosphere is wrong...
It undermines everything.
Completely. It just drags the whole experience down.
So, practically speaking, what are the upsides of getting the ambiance right, according to Maurice?
Well, he highlights that a good atmosphere, one that's well thought out, it helps people relax, feel comfortable.
Right, puts them at ease.
Exactly. And when your guests feel comfortable, they're more likely to enjoy themselves, maybe stay longer, spend a bit more.
And maybe even tip better.
That too. It's a direct benefit for your staff's morale and income as well.
That link between mood and spending is really key.
Yeah.
What about the downside? What happens when the ambiance just, misses the mark?
Maurice is very clear on this. A negative atmosphere, maybe the lighting's too harsh, the seats are uncomfortable, the decor feels cold or dated.
Yeah.
It can instantly make people feel uneasy or even depressed. And that leaves a bad taste no matter how good the food is.
And he uses some pretty vivid comparisons to show what works and what doesn't, right?
He does. He talks about successful places that really master using, say, dimmer lighting, the right kind of background music, welcoming decor.
Elements that work together.
Yeah, to create a specific positive mood.
And then, for contrast, he uses that Quite striking example.
Ah, yes. The feeling of being in a really austere, cold waiting room, like in a government building in France, he
It's a
mentions.
great analogy.
It really is, because it shows how powerfully environment affects emotion, even totally outside of hospitality. It just underlines that your restaurant's ambiance is constantly sending signals.
So the message from Maurice for owners is clear. Paying attention to those sensory things, lighting, sound, visuals, it's not just fluff.
Not at all. It's fundamental to creating a great customer experience.
It needs to enhance things, not detract.
Precisely. And speaking of enhancing enjoyment, Maurice also tackles the big issue of managing distraction.
Ah, yes. Something we've all experienced as diners, I think. Those things that just pull you out of the moment.
Absolutely. And Maurice argues that anything that breaks the customer's focus, too much noise, waiting too long for service, staff seeming disorganized,
Yeah, it all detracts.
it seriously diminishes their overall satisfaction.
And what are the sort of long-term risks of letting those distractions happen regularly,
Mm-hmm.
according to him?
He believes it builds frustration. It makes customers feel like their time or their experience isn't really valued.
And those bad feelings stick.
They're very memorable, unfortunately, and they make it much less likely someone will come back or recommend you.
He points to some specific things owners should really try hard to avoid, doesn't he?
Yes, very directly, like restaurants that are just too loud to have a conversation.
A classic complaint.
Definitely. And service that feels slow or inattentive, leaving you feeling ignored. These are common issues, but Marie stresses they can be fixed with focus and good training.
So the core idea here is to actively work towards making the environment feel smooth, seamless.
Exactly. Calm, distraction-free. So the focus stays where it should be on the food, the drink, the company. That fosters relaxation.
Right, which brings us naturally to, well, arguably the heart of it all, the food itself, the culinary experience.
The main event for many people, for sure.
Absolutely. But Maurice offers a kind of multi-layered view on this, doesn't he? It's not just about taste.
That's right. He suggests that when a customer judges the food, it's a more holistic thing than we might think.
Okay, so what are the different parts they're assessing, consciously or maybe unconsciously, according to Maurice?
Well, obviously, there's the quality. Ingredients, preparation, does it taste good? That's baseline.
The fundamentals.
But then there's the visual appeal. How does it look on the plate? Presentation matters.
Usually.
And crucially, the perceived value for money. Do they feel like they got a fair deal for what they paid?
That value perception is key. And he also mentions going beyond just meeting expectations, right? Adding something extra.
Absolutely. Maurice really emphasizes the impact of adding some element of surprise or originality.
Like how?
Could be a unique flavor combination they didn't expect, maybe an artistic plating, even something simple like a complimentary little taste to start. It shows creativity, a desire to delight.
And he points out this applies differently depending on the type of place.
Yes, exactly. He notes that in a really high-end restaurant, the expectation is sky-high, near perfection. Any tiny slip is noticed.
True.
But he also stresses that even in, say, a casual bistro or even a fast food place, paying attention to the quality of simple ingredients and making an effort with presentation.
It still makes a difference.
A big difference. It boosts that feeling of getting good value.
So the lesson here isn't just serve good food. It's more about actively finding ways to, surprise and delight people, to make it memorable.
That's it, exactly. An exceptional dish, beautiful plating, maybe a small, unexpected gesture. These are powerful tools for building loyalty.
Okay. And finally, Maurice brings it all together by focusing on perhaps the most vital asset, the people, the staff.
Yes, what many would say is the absolute backbone of any service business.
Because they're the ones face-to-face with your customers. They can make or break that experience.
Totally. Maurice puts huge importance on having a team that's not just trained, but also genuinely motivated and attentive.
He sees them as the face of the brand.
Directly. They shape almost every interaction.
So why is investing in really good, thorough staff training so critical from his perspective?
Well, he argues that good training ensures your team understands all the other things we've talked about, why details matter, how service flows, how to create that positive ambiance.
It connects everything.
Right. And plus, well-trained staff are just much better at handling bumps in the road, fixing problems.
Turning negatives into positives.
Exactly. Turning a potential complaint into a situation where the customer feels heard and taken care of. That builds massive loyalty.
And he gives some examples of where this training really shows its value.
He does. He mentions how top-tier places like Michelin-starred restaurants Make continuous training a huge priority to stay sharp.
It's ongoing.
And he also shares stories, real-world examples of skilled servers who've managed to recover from a mistake and actually make the customer more loyal through how well they handled it.
Wow. So the takeaway from Maurice is crystal clear.
Yeah.
Training your team isn't just a cost. It's probably the best investment you can make for customer loyalty and success.
Absolutely. And as Maurice wraps up his thoughts, he really circles back to his main idea.
Which is?
That in this incredibly competitive industry, paying close attention to every detail isn't optional. It's not secondary. It's essential if you want lasting success.
He really ties all 5 of these keys together. The details, ambiance, distractions, food, and staff.
He does. He restates that it's the combination, the careful ambiance, the focus on the little things, the smooth service from a great team, and of course, outstanding food and drink.
It all works together.
It all combines to create that overall positive experience.
And he gives us that crucial reminder about why customers return.
Yeah, he emphasizes that people today, they aren't just buying a meal, they're buying an experience, a feeling, a memory.
And it's the whole package that builds loyalty.
That's what brings them back again and again.
And he finishes with some really useful questions for you, the listener, to think about.
Yeah, he prompts you to consider, what details are you already doing well? And maybe more importantly, what new ideas has this sparked?
It's a call to action, really.
Definitely. A call to be proactive in refining that experience.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Maurice's 5 essential keys, it seems really clear that even with all the daily pressures, focusing on these core areas gives you a solid framework.
The details, the ambiance, minimizing those distractions, pushing for culinary excellence, and really investing in your people.
It provides that roadmap for building a truly thriving business.
And it's how they all work together. That synergy is key. Each part supports the others, creating this positive loop.
Happier customers, a more sustainable business.
Exactly.
So for every hotel and restaurant owner listening, maybe take a moment. Think about these 5 keys. Which one offers you the biggest chance for immediate improvement right now? And how could focusing there help you create not just service, but that truly memorable, valuable experience for every single guest?
It's definitely food for thought,
Yeah.
unintended.